Now let's do a close reading of Milton's Sonnet 19. Milton became totally blind in 1652. This sonnet was written when the calamity was fresh and before he had become accustomed to a life in darkness. This sonnet opens with a mood of discouragement and grief, yet closes with quiet resignation. Milton struggles in this sonnet with frustration at becoming blind and with his own sense of how important it is to use one's talents well in God's service. The sonnet records how Milton comes to understand a higher notion of service. Real service is doing the will of God, even if it means he must stand and wait. Now let's look at the first line of this poem. When I consider how my light is spent here means is used up. In this first line, the poet considers how his light is used up or wasted in this world. But since Milton was a strongly religious poet, he was a Puritan, light in this poem refers not only to his ability to see, but also to his spiritual light of life. Ere half my days in this dark world and wide. Ere half my days, Milton assumes that his life is not yet half over in this world. He became completely blind at about 44, so before half my days in this world. In this dark world and wide. This is one of the typical ways that Milton handles adjectives, putting one in front of the noun it modifies and one after it. Now lines 3 and 4. And that one talent which is death to hide lodged with me useless. Hearing these two lines, lodged with me useless, it means that, his talent, his ability to see and to write becomes useless because he has lost his eyesight. And that one talent is a biblical allusion. It alludes to the story of the parable of talents in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30. Now here is the parable of talents. For it is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. The man who had received 5 talents went up at once and traded with them and made 5 more talents. And in the same way, the one who had 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. For a long time the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. Then the one who had received 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you handed over to me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more talents. And his master said to him, Well done, good, trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things, and I will put you in charge of many things. Entered into the joy of your master. And the one with the 2 talents also came forward, saying, Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I've made 2 more talents. And his master said to him, Well done, good, trustworthy. You have been trustworthy in a few things, and I'll put you in charge of many things, and entered into the joy of your master. Then the one who had received only 1 talent also came forward, saying, Master, I knew that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Now here you have what is yours. But the master replied, You wicked, lazy slave. You knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with the 10 talents. For all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, throw him into the outer darkness. And this is the story of the parable of talents. Matthew chapter 25. And Milton's That One Talent in his Sonnet 19 alludes to this biblical story. Now let's come back to line 3. And that 1 talent, which is death to hide. Now the question here is why it is death to hide that 1 talent. Milton actually claims not only 1 single talent, his ability to see, but also his literary talent, his ability to write. So it is a pun on the word talent. With this talent, a poet could earn immortality. Therefore, to hide means death. That 1 talent, therefore, refers to both the poet's eyesight and his literary talent at the same time. Lodged with me useless. This also means that, his literary talent becomes useless because he has lost his eyesight. Useless here means without interest. The word useless here is also a pun on use, referring to usury or interest. Though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker. We can paraphrase this sentence like this. Although my soul is even inclined to serve God with that 1 talent. Therewith here means with both my eyesight and my literary talent. So here in these 2 lines, we see the speaker's desire to serve God through his poetry, to use his talents for the glory of God. It would be therefore very frustrating for the poet, to want to serve God with his writing ability, but to feel that his literary talent will be wasted because he becomes blind. To serve therewith my Maker and present my true account. To present my true account here means that the poet wishes ultimately to give a good account of himself and his service to God, lest he returning chide. In the story of the parable of talents, the master, upon returning, rebuked the 3rd servant for hiding his money and therefore wasting his given talent. Lest he returning chide here also alludes to the second coming of Christ, or the judgment, meaning so that he will not rebuke me when he returns. Doth God exact day labor like denied? Exact means demand, ask for. Day labor refers to labor for daily wages or hired by day. Milton asks whether God demands a full day's labor from those without sight, and thus alludes to the parable of the laborers in the vineyards. Matthew chapter 20. In Matthew chapter 20, verse 1, some of whom worked for a full day, others for only part of a day. Light denied here means with light denied me, and at the same time deny me light. It is an absolute participle phrase. So line 7 can be paraphrased in this way. Does God ask for my day labor without giving me light? I fondly ask. The first 8 lines of the sonnet form grammatically one long sentence, the main clause of which consists of the first 3 words in line A. I fondly ask. That means I foolishly ask. And line 7 in question marks is the question that is asked and is therefore the object of the verb ask. And the first 8 lines of this poem can be rearranged in this way. I fondly ask. Doth God exact day labor light denied? When I consider A, how my light is spent ere how my days in this world and wide, and B, how that one talent which death is to hide is lodged with me uselessly, though my soul be more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and to present my true account, lest he, that is my Maker, returning, should chide me. But patience. Now let's look at this but. This sonnet is constructed on the standard format of an Italian sonnet, which consists of an octave that establishes a problem and a sextet that solves the problem. In keeping with Milton's practice of introducing innovations into conventional forms, he places the turn of thought in the middle of line 8 instead of the beginning of line 9. Patience, Christian patience, of course, or faith in providence, could be saintly virtue. Prevent here means forestall. Patience here is personified as if he is to prevent that murmur. But what interests us is that even patience becomes impatient and cannot wait till the beginning of line 9, in which a turn of thought is usually invited in an Italian sonnet. Murmur here is an expression of discontent, Milton's questioning of God's will in line 7. God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. It was a commonplace that man returns God's gifts. Patience reply explains one aspect of the nature of God and affirms a kind of service to God that is different from the service advocated in the parable of the talents. First of all, God does not need either man's work or God-given talents. But what does he want? Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. They who best bear his mild yoke serve him best. Those who are most obedient to God's will serve him best. This image of the yoke is a biblical allusion. A yoke is a kind of harness put on oxen. In Matthew chapter 11, a yoke is an image for God's will. It refers to the duties God places on one's shoulders. In Matthew chapter 11, verses 29 to 30, it says, "For my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Now let's look at the last few lines of this poem. Now here Milton compares two classes of angels, the inferior orders, the post over land and ocean with God's messages, and the superior orders, they never leave God's presence and enjoy the highest contemplative insight. This will make the end of the poem a triumphant one. His state is kingly. God's greatness, which patience goes on to elaborate in the next line. Wait in line 14 refers to wait on the God, and this is a phrase frequently found in the Bible. Milton used wait to attend as a servant, to receive orders, but its more common meaning is to stay in expectation. It suggests that there is more than one way to serve God. And patience here is telling the poet that even his waiting or his apparent inaction caused by his blindness can also be a kind of service to God if he bears the yoke well. So this sonnet opens with a mood of discouragement and grief, yet closes with quiet resignation.